Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the Islamic Shahada channel. In the heart of the world's most influential Catholic center, something quietly but undeniably significant has been taking shape. Italy, home to the Vatican and centuries of Christian tradition, has witnessed a steady rise in its Muslim population over the past 2 decades. This is not a sudden shift, nor a dramatic surge, but a measurable and sustained demographic trend supported by national statistics and long-term migration patterns. Understanding the growth of Islam in Italy begins with basic demographic realities. According to estimates derived from Istat, Italy's National Statistics Institute, the country is now home to more than 1 million Muslims. The exact figure varies depending on methodology, whether counting only foreign residents, naturalized citizens, or all individuals identifying as Muslim, but most studies consistently place the number in the range of 1.5 to 2 million people. This makes Islam one of the largest minority religions in the country and a notable presence within Italy's broader migrant population. This growth is not occurring in isolation. Italy is one of the fastest aging countries in Europe. Birth rates have fallen to historically low levels, reaching record declines in the last decade. At the same time, the country faces a shrinking workforce and increasing pressure on its social support systems. Reuters and other international news agencies have repeatedly reported on these demographic challenges, highlighting how Italy's population decline has become a central national concern. Migration, including migration from Muslim-majority countries, has therefore become an essential part of Italy's demographic stability and labor force renewal. These two forces, an aging native population and a sustained level of immigration, explain why the Muslim community has steadily increased, even without dramatic surges or policy-driven initiatives. Many Muslim residents arrived as workers, family members, or asylum seekers. Others are second-generation individuals born in Italy who attend Italian schools, speak Italian as a first language, and identify culturally with both Italy and their parents' countries of origin. The story of Islam in Italy did not begin in the 20th century. Its roots go back more than 1,000 years, particularly in the southern regions of the country. The earliest major Muslim presence emerged in the 9th century, when Arab and Aghlabid forces from North Africa established control over parts of Sicily. Beginning in 827 CE, Muslim armies captured key cities such as Mazara del Vallo, Palermo, and later much of the island. Under their rule, Sicily became an important center of administration, commerce, and agriculture within the Mediterranean. Historical accounts, including those summarized in academic literature and encyclopedic sources, describe a period characterized by advanced irrigation systems, the introduction of new crops such as citrus, sugarcane, and cotton, and a flourishing urban culture influenced by the Islamic world. The period of Muslim governance in Sicily lasted for more than 2 centuries. It produced significant architectural and linguistic influences that continued long after political control shifted. Palermo, for example, became one of the most populated and cosmopolitan cities in Europe during the 10th and 11th centuries. Muslim scholars, administrators, and artisans contributed to an environment where Arabic language, Islamic jurisprudence, and Mediterranean trade networks played a central role in the life of the island. This era came to an end with the Norman conquest between the 11th and 12th centuries. As Norman rulers consolidated control, Muslim communities faced gradual restrictions, forced conversions, and eventual expulsion. By the 13th century, open Islamic practice was effectively eliminated in Sicily, and many Muslim inhabitants either converted, migrated, or were pushed into isolated enclaves before disappearing from the historical record as a distinct population. However, traces of their presence endured. Architectural elements such as the arches and domes found in Palermo, the layout of historical districts, and agricultural innovations introduced during the Islamic period survived into later Italian culture. Although the Muslim political presence ended nearly 8 centuries ago, the cultural legacy remained visible, especially in Sicily and parts of southern Italy. Historians and researchers, including those associated with Muslim heritage studies, have repeatedly noted that the region's medieval advancements in irrigation, mathematics, and agriculture were shaped by the period of Islamic rule. These contributions form the earliest chapter of Islam's long history in Italy, providing context for the modern Muslim population that would only re-emerge many centuries later through migration, globalization, and demographic change. Today's Muslim population in Italy is the result of contemporary social and economic dynamics rather than direct continuity from the medieval period. Estimates vary, but most reputable sources place the number of Muslims in Italy between 1.5 and 2.3 million people. The reason for this broad range is methodological. Some datasets count only foreign residents who declare Islam as their religion, while others include naturalized Italian citizens, asylum seekers, undocumented migrants, and individuals who identify culturally or religiously as Muslim regardless of nationality. For example, reports cited by Agenzia Nova highlight around 1.7 million Muslims among foreign residents, while broader demographic assessments reach higher totals when including all categories. In proportion to Italy's overall population, Muslims represent a relatively small share, typically estimated between 2.5 and 4.5%. However, within the foreign resident population, they form one of the largest and most visible religious minorities. In northern regions such as Lombardy, Emilia-Romagna, Piedmont, and Veneto, concentrations are significantly higher due to long-standing labor migration and industrial employment opportunities. Data from research entities like the ISMU Foundation underline that Muslims constitute more than 30% of Italy's foreign population in certain areas, reflecting decades of structured migration flows from North Africa, the Balkans, and parts of South Asia. Several key factors explain the growth of the Muslim community over the past 20 years. The first is labor migration. Beginning in the 1980s and accelerating in the 1990s and early 2000s, Italy attracted workers from Morocco, Tunisia, Albania, Egypt, Pakistan, and Bangladesh to support construction, manufacturing, domestic work, agriculture, and services. Many of these workers later brought family members through reunification processes. The second factor is refugee and asylum flows, particularly after conflicts in Syria, Libya, and the broader Middle East. While not all asylum seekers remain long-term, their arrival contributes to demographic variability. A third factor is birth rate differences. Muslim families in Italy generally have higher fertility rates than the national average, although the gap has narrowed over time as second-generation immigrants adopt Italian social norms. Finally, there is the factor of conversion. While the number of Italian converts to Islam remains modest relative to the total population, it is not insignificant. Conversions occur for various personal, intellectual, or social reasons, and add to the overall diversity of the Muslim population. Across Italy, Muslim communities do not grow in one uniform pattern. Instead, they are shaped by regional economies, immigration routes, historical legacies, and local political environments. Understanding these variations is essential to understanding Islam in Italy as a whole. Each region reflects a different story of migration, integration, and community building. Lombardy, anchored by Milan and the industrial north, represents the largest and most economically active concentration of Muslims in the country. For decades, the region has attracted workers from Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia, Pakistan, and Albania, drawn by steady employment in manufacturing, logistics, construction, and service industries. Today, Lombardy hosts some of Italy's most developed Islamic associations and several high-visibility mosques, including large prayer centers that serve tens of thousands of worshippers. The economic structure of northern Italy has made integration primarily work-driven, producing a landscape where migrants often stabilize quickly through employment, but still face complex debates over housing, cultural identity, and the visibility of religious spaces. The region's Moroccan and Egyptian communities in particular have grown into well-organized networks with active cultural centers, youth programs, and halal commercial districts. Their experience highlights a dynamic where economic participation is often strong, but institutional recognition, such as formal mosque permits, remains inconsistent. In Lazio, especially Rome, the Muslim population is strikingly diverse, shaped by diplomatic presence, international organizations, humanitarian migration, and long-term economic relocation. Communities from Bangladesh, North Africa, West Africa, and Eastern Europe coexist within the metropolitan area, forming one of Italy's most multicultural environments. Rome's unique proximity to the Vatican adds a symbolic dimension. The global center of Catholicism stands only a short distance from one of the largest mosques in Europe, the Rome Mosque, completed in the 1990s. Yet despite this monumental presence, many smaller communities continue to struggle with access to legal prayer spaces and land use permits. Local regulations and neighborhood-level opposition often limit the construction or official recognition of new mosques. The result is a paradox: a city that hosts Europe's most prominent Islamic architecture, while simultaneously presenting some of the most persistent challenges for everyday religious practice. In Campania and Emilia-Romagna, Muslim communities have developed around labor-intensive economic sectors. Campania, centered around Naples, has long attracted North African and South Asian workers in transportation, agriculture, and informal commerce. Its Muslim presence is tied to port activities, wholesale markets, and the service sector, creating a diverse but often economically vulnerable population. Emilia-Romagna, in contrast, represents a more structured industrial environment. Factories, food processing plants, and mechanical industries employ large numbers of workers from Pakistan, Morocco, Tunisia, and Senegal. In many towns, Muslims play a crucial role in sustaining local manufacturing workforces that have faced aging and labor shortages. Compared with other regions, Emilia-Romagna often shows higher levels of local integration, driven by stable employment contracts and long-term residents. Still, negotiations around mosque recognition, community centers, and school accommodations continue to shape the relationship between Muslim families and municipal governments. In Sicily and the wider south, particularly Palermo and coastal towns such as Mazara del Vallo, the Muslim story is deeply entwined with history. Sicily's Islamic past, which spans over 2 centuries of rule in the medieval period, has left linguistic, architectural, and cultural traces across the island. While the modern Muslim population is largely composed of recent migrants, primarily from Tunisia and West Africa, Sicily's geographic position in the central Mediterranean makes it a primary entry point for migrants crossing from North Africa. Mazara del Vallo, often cited for its tightly knit Tunisian community, represents one of the oldest continuous Muslim presences in modern Italy. Here, fishing industries depend heavily on Tunisian fishermen and their families, creating a community that feels simultaneously transnational and locally rooted. In Palermo, cultural initiatives, interfaith programs, and academic institutions have begun revisiting the island's Islamic heritage, giving contemporary Muslim communities a unique cultural backdrop not found elsewhere in Italy. Outside the major cities, smaller industrial towns illustrate a different dimension of the Muslim experience in Italy. Places such as Monfalcone in the northeast have become national examples of intense local debates around immigration, labor demand, and religious visibility. Muslim workers, many employed in shipyards, factories, and mechanical industries, form a significant share of the local labor force. However, disputes over prayer rooms, zoning restrictions, and community gatherings have generated political tension and attracted national media attention. These towns represent the front line of Italy's broader debate on integration. While local industries rely heavily on migrant labor, administrative obstacles and social pressures often limit the public expression of religious life. The contrast between economic necessity and cultural apprehension becomes especially clear in these smaller municipalities. Daily life for Muslims in Italy is shaped by a combination of routine religious practice, economic participation, generational change, and ongoing negotiation of identity. These elements interact differently across age groups, regions, and communities, creating a social landscape that is far more complex than stereotypes or simplified media narratives. Religious practice remains a central anchor. Across the country, Muslim families maintain a rhythm of prayer, community gatherings, and cultural customs that form the core of their social world. Mosques and prayer centers, whether large, officially recognized buildings or improvised spaces in apartments, warehouses, or community halls, serve as the main hubs of activity. Weekend madrasa classes provide religious education, Arabic instruction, and social connection for children who otherwise grow up fully immersed in Italian language schooling. Halal butcher shops, small markets, and ethnic grocery stores offer access to familiar foods and have become informal meeting points for local communities. Ramadan brings a more visible layer of religious life. Families balance fasting with demanding work schedules, and many mosques organize nightly iftar gatherings. Yet, most of these activities occur in private or semi-private settings, reflecting Italy's limited accommodation of religious visibility in public institutions. For many Muslims, the month becomes a reminder of maintaining traditions within a society that does not always recognize or adapt to them. Economically, Muslims contribute heavily to sectors that form the backbone of Italy's workforce. Migrants from North Africa, South Asia, and Eastern Europe occupy large roles in construction, agriculture, transportation, manufacturing, and service industries. They fill labor shortages that have intensified due to Italy's aging population and low birth rate. Their contribution is particularly evident in logistics hubs of the north, agricultural fields of the center and south, and factory belts in regions like Emilia-Romagna and Veneto. Many have transitioned from temporary to permanent residence, opening small businesses such as restaurants, retail shops, barber shops, and repair services. These enterprises often anchor local microeconomies and provide employment within the community. In education, the second generation plays a pivotal role in redefining what it means to be both Muslim and Italian. These students, born in Italy or brought in as young children, speak fluent Italian, attend the same public schools as their peers, and increasingly pursue higher education. They navigate classrooms where their cultural background may be unfamiliar to teachers and classmates, yet they also serve as cultural bridges within their own families. Their role is often dual, helping parents interpret bureaucratic systems while developing their own sense of belonging, rooted in both heritage and the broader Italian environment. For younger Muslims, identity is no longer simply inherited, it is constructed through a mix of culture, language, and personal choice. Many young adults embrace a bilingual life, Italian outside, Arabic, Urdu, Bengali, or Albanian at home. Creative expression has become a visible outlet for this identity-building process. In cities like Milan, Turin, and Rome, young Muslim Italians participate in music scenes, visual arts, digital content creation, and civic projects. Their work often reflects themes of migration, integration, discrimination, and belonging. Instead of choosing between two identities, many intentionally blend them, creating a hybrid cultural presence that challenges binary notions of Italian versus foreign. Women play a significant role in shaping this evolving identity, and their experience reflects broader debates within Italian society. Hijab-wearing women often navigate public environments with heightened visibility. Discussions around clothing policies, periodically resurfacing in political campaigns or administrative decisions, remain part of a national conversation about identity and secularism. According to recent public debates highlighted in international reporting, including from the Financial Times, these issues involve questions of employment access, religious freedom, and civic participation. While some women report supportive work and educational environments, others encounter discrimination, social pressure, or bureaucratic obstacles. Their experiences vary widely, influenced by region, community size, and local political climate. Despite these challenges, Muslim women continue to occupy roles as students, professionals, entrepreneurs, and community leaders, contributing significantly to the social and economic life of the country. Politics and public debate surrounding Islam in Italy revolve around three major themes: integration, security, and national identity. These issues shape legislation, local administrative decisions, and the broader public conversation about religious freedom and social cohesion. The first area involves integration and regulation of religious life, which often intersects with security concerns. Across Italy, the construction and recognition of mosques remain contentious. Many Muslim communities continue to rely on informal prayer rooms because obtaining official authorization for dedicated places of worship is slow, bureaucratic, and frequently opposed at the local level. Municipal governments sometimes justify restrictions on the basis of zoning rules or public order considerations. In several regions, local officials have introduced ordinances requiring detailed documentation from Islamic associations, regular inspection of prayer spaces, and closer monitoring of community activities. These measures are often framed as necessary for transparency and public safety, but critics argue that they disproportionately target Muslims compared to other religious groups. Public debate has also intensified around face covering regulations and proposed restrictions on religious attire. Draft bills and political proposals in recent years have sought to limit or ban the use of face covering garments in public spaces, citing security concerns or secular values. Supporters of these measures argue that Italian society must protect visibility and identification in public life. Opponents counter that such policies risk stigmatizing Muslim women and reducing individual freedoms. The discussion reflects ongoing negotiation between personal religious expression and the state's approach to public order. The second major element is the rise of right-wing political parties and their influence on public discourse. These groups have gained electoral strength across Italy by linking concerns about migration, cultural change, and economic insecurity to Muslim communities. Their narratives frequently emphasize perceived threats to national identity or social stability. Local conflicts sometimes become highly publicized symbols of these broader tensions. One notable example is Monfalcone, a small industrial town where disputes over prayer spaces and community activities became the focus of national media attention. Such episodes illustrate how localized administrative decisions can escalate into large-scale political debates, reinforcing polarization around the presence of Muslim communities in Italy. Despite these pressures, there are ongoing efforts to build understanding and cooperation. This leads to the third theme: interfaith dialogue, particularly involving the Catholic Church. The Vatican has a long-standing commitment to dialogue with the Muslim world through institutions dedicated to interreligious engagement. Over the years, popes and Vatican officials have met with Muslim leaders, emphasizing shared values such as family, peace, and social responsibility. At the local level, dioceses and parish groups often collaborate with Muslim organizations on community initiatives such as charity drives, cultural events, and educational programs. These interactions do not eliminate political tensions, but they provide an alternative framework for engagement that focuses on mutual respect rather than confrontation. Historical patterns also influence these conversations. Italy's relationship with the Muslim world spans centuries, from medieval encounters in Sicily to modern migration flows. This history informs both cooperation and conflict, and it often shapes how Italian institutions respond to contemporary debates. Interfaith initiatives attempt to draw from this historical depth to foster a more constructive atmosphere, even as political rhetoric sometimes moves in the opposite direction. Muslim communities in Italy face a combination of structural challenges and emerging opportunities that shape their long-term integration and contribution to society. These challenges are rooted in political debate, administrative barriers, and social perceptions that continue to influence public policy. One of the most persistent issues is discrimination and Islamophobia. Reports over the past decade describe recurring episodes of hostility, ranging from workplace discrimination to verbal harassment in public spaces. Local controversies, often amplified by political rhetoric, contribute to a climate in which Muslims are sometimes portrayed as outsiders or as a security concern. Coverage from international outlets, including The Guardian, has highlighted how debates about migration, national identity, and religious freedom frequently converge on Muslim communities. These tensions can restrict opportunities in employment, housing, and civic participation. A second challenge is the difficulty in securing official authorization for places of worship. Despite the significant growth of Muslim communities, Italy has relatively few formally recognized mosques. Many cities impose strict zoning requirements, and local councils often reject proposals citing urban planning concerns or community opposition. As a result, numerous Muslim associations rely on temporary or informal prayer spaces that lack long-term security. These limitations hinder the development of stable community institutions, reduce visibility of legitimate religious leadership, and reinforce the perception of Islam as a marginal presence. Political pressure represents another significant barrier. The rise of parties that emphasize cultural preservation and restrictive migration policies has intensified debate around integration. Their platforms often include proposals that directly affect Muslims, such as increased surveillance of religious organizations or restrictions on religious attire. These pressures create uncertainty for community leaders, who must operate within a legal environment that is both fragmented and politically charged. Internally, Muslim communities also face fragmentation. Italy's Muslim population is not defined by a single ethnic, linguistic, or theological identity. It includes immigrants and descendants from North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, the Balkans, and the Middle East. Communities differ in dialects, cultural traditions, and religious interpretations. While this diversity enriches local life, it can complicate coordination between associations, limit collective political representation, and slow the development of unified platforms for dialogue with Italian institutions. Despite these challenges, significant opportunities exist. One of the most frequently cited is the economic and demographic contribution of Muslims to a country confronting long-term population decline. Italy faces one of the lowest birth rates in Europe and an aging workforce. Migrant communities, including Muslims, fill labor shortages in critical sectors such as agriculture, industry, logistics, construction, and care work. They also establish small businesses that sustain local economies and introduce new services. This demographic reality positions Muslims as an essential part of Italy's social and economic stability over the next decades. Another opportunity lies in the expansion of interfaith dialogue and local integration initiatives. Many Italian municipalities collaborate with NGOs, volunteer networks, and community groups to support language education, job placement, after-school programs, and cultural orientation. These initiatives often succeed at the local level, even when national political debate is polarized. Interfaith projects involving Catholic parishes and Muslim associations provide additional avenues for cooperation, fostering relationships built on shared concerns such as poverty, education, and social welfare. The future of Islam in Italy is closely linked to broader demographic and social trends affecting Europe. Projections from research organizations, including studies by the Pew Research Center, indicate that the Muslim population in Europe may continue to grow due to a combination of migration patterns and demographic factors. In Italy, where birth rates remain among the lowest in the world, even modest increases in migration or natural growth within immigrant communities can have an outsized impact on population composition. Different scenarios illustrate how these trends could unfold. In the first scenario, integration and social stability increase over time. In this model, Muslim communities gain better access to education, employment, and civic participation. Structural barriers such as the lack of recognized worship spaces are gradually addressed, and interfaith cooperation expands. As a result, Muslims contribute positively to demographic renewal, economic productivity, and cultural diversity. This scenario aligns with Italy's long-term demographic needs and reflects the experience of communities that have already integrated successfully. The second scenario is characterized by marginalization and deepening polarization. In this case, political tensions intensify, legislative restrictions increase, and social distrust grows. Limited opportunities for religious infrastructure or civic representation create parallel communities disconnected from mainstream institutions. This environment risks reinforcing stereotypes, reducing economic participation, and creating pressure points exploited in political debate. Such outcomes would not only affect Muslim communities, but also contribute to broader social instability. Most experts emphasize that neither outcome is predetermined. Italy's ability to manage demographic change, address social inequality, and facilitate integration will shape which scenario becomes more likely. What remains clear is that Muslims will continue to be part of Italy's population landscape. Their future role, whether defined by cooperation or conflict, depends on decisions made today by policymakers, communities, and civic institutions. Islam in Italy is a long and evolving story. It stretches from the early Islamic presence in Sicily to the diverse modern communities established in cities like Milan, Turin, Bologna, Palermo, and Rome. The growth of these communities challenges deeply rooted assumptions about Italian identity, while opening new opportunities for cultural exchange, economic participation, and demographic renewal. At the same time, this growth exposes tensions within politics, law, and public discourse, highlighting ongoing debates about migration, religious freedom, and national identity. Understanding Islam in Italy requires recognizing both the challenges and the contributions. It involves acknowledging the barriers, discrimination, limited access to official worship spaces, political pressure, and also recognizing the significant role Muslims play in sustaining crucial sectors of the economy and revitalizing communities affected by population decline. It is a story shaped by history, but defined by the choices Italians and Muslims make in the present. Thanks for watching until the end. I hope it was useful. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.